My name is Alan Rowland, and I want to tell you about a recent adventure that I took to Mississippi. In fact, this was in July of 2024. And the reason I went there is to explore some of the history in Mississippi. And I'll tell you right now that some of the history in Mississippi is very good, and some of it is not so pleasant. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is one of those events that's not very pleasant. And it involves an individual by the name of Emmett Till. You can see this statue of Emmett. It is erected and present today in Greenwood, Mississippi. It's a 9-foot bronze statue, and it bears a likeness of Emmett Till. Now, the areas in which we'll be talking about for the next few minutes anyway, it's in the central part of Mississippi towards the western part, and we'll start our adventure here with Greenwood. This is Greenwood, where I was showing you the statue of Emmett Till a few minutes ago. If you go about 10 miles north of that, it's Money, Mississippi. There it is, a tiny little hamlet there. There's not present anything really of any significance there today. Some of the other areas that we need to concern ourselves with: Ruleville, Mississippi, and if we go about 5 miles north of that, there's Drew, Mississippi. And this area where my pointer is now is Tutwiler, Mississippi. Here's Sumner, which is the county seat of Tallahatchie County. The courthouse is present there. Glendora, Mississippi is present here. It's about 8 miles away. Two other areas just to give you reference points here: Grenada, Mississippi, and here we have Clarksville, Mississippi, that have nothing to do with the story that I have today. Now, the individual we're talking about is a person by the name of Emmett Till. Here's what he looks like here when he arrived. And by the way, he was from Chicago when he went by train with his cousin Wheeler Parker. And this was in August in 1955, and traveled by train and went to Money, Mississippi. The day that they arrived, Emmett turned 14 years of age. His mother was very proud of him. She was always proud of the beautiful smile he had, and he had very, very white teeth. That's what he looked like right here. His friends called him Bobo. And when he arrived in Money, he went to the home of his cousins and also his great uncle, a person by the name of Moses Wright. They referred to him as Preacher Wright. He was the pastor at a nearby church, and I'll show you a photograph of the remains of that in just a few minutes. The friends of Emmett and his cousins, and of course they called Emmett Bobo, they made a trip down to 3 miles away, down to Bryant's Grocery. They were in a car or a truck, I'm not sure about that. Went to Bryant's Grocery. This is also known as Bryant's Grocery and Meat Market. It was owned by a man by the name of Roy Bryant and his wife Carolyn Bryant. I'll show you a photograph of both of those individuals in a few minutes. And the reason Emmett and his friends went there was, we think anyway, was probably to get candy, maybe purchase some bubble gum. And the boys went inside, and inside of Bryant's Grocery was a 21-year-old co-owner and the wife of Roy Bryant. Her name was Carolyn Bryant. She was 21 years of age, petite, a little bit attractive, I guess you might say anyway, and she had just turned 21. Now, here's where the story gets kind of confusing here, and we really don't know what happened here. Some accounts will say that Emmett whistled at her, a wolf whistle, some people will say. Some individuals say that he actually put his arm around her waist and propositioned her. I really don't know that. Carolyn Bryant later would change her story many, many times, so we really don't know what took place there. But anyway, the boys panicked that were with Emmett, and they left the grocery and went outside, and perhaps they were watching a checkers match that was out. I don't really know. Some accounts say that Carolyn Bryant went out to her car, and some individuals say that Carolyn Bryant actually got a pistol out of the truck or a pistol out of the car. And the boys, of course, panicked, and they got in their truck or car and went to Mose Wright's house. Well, and by the way, this is a photograph, a current photograph showing you Bryant's Grocery today, which is not much to this. You can see, there are vines and botanical products growing all around the store there. You cannot go inside. It's off limits, but you can go to the side. One of the walls is partially collapsed, and you can look inside. That's where Roy Bryant and his wife Carolyn actually lived. And anyway, when Roy Bryant And Roy Bryant, by the way, was away at that time. He was down on the coast purchasing seafood, and he was going to deliver the seafood to a state, a couple states over, and he was going to be gone for about 3 days. And when he returned, his wife, Carolyn Bryant, didn't say anything whatsoever. And then finally the rumors got out that maybe something had taken place, and Roy Bryant convinced his wife to tell him the story that actually happened there, whether it was true or whether it was not. So Roy Bryant and his half-brother, J.W. Milam. Roy Bryant was 24 years of age. J.W. Milam, his half-brother, was 36 years of age. And so they went to the house of Mose Wright. And this is what the house looked like at the time. They arrived there at 2:30 in the morning and entered the house. The house was unlocked. They entered the house, and they were carrying a pistol, carrying a flashlight, and Mose Wright actually met them. Preacher Wright met them when they were inside, and he said, "What do you want?" And they said, "We want the boy from Chicago, the boy that talks so much, and the fat boy." And Mose Wright's wife came out, and she said, "Well, why don't you just give him a whipping and punish him in that fashion right there?" And anyway, she even offered them money. She tried to bribe them. But they abducted Emmett Till and took Emmett away, and we really don't know exactly what happened at that point. And hang on for just a second. Let me show you. If you go to that area today, which is about 3 miles, and it would be 3 miles east of Money, the house of Moses Wright is not there. This is the house that's present there today. And if you continue about a half a mile more, and you'll find the remains of the old church here, which was the East Money Church of God in Christ. And this was a church, that is Pastor Moses, or Mose Preacher Wright, actually pastored over. There's a cemetery that's close by, and you can walk through that cemetery if you wish to do so. Now, we feel pretty certain, and by the way, here is J.W. Milam. J.W. Milam, which is here, 34 years of age. Here's Roy Bryant here, 24 years of age. And they abducted Emmett, and they carried him about in their vehicle about 30 miles away to a place which is called Drew. Now, if you go to that area today, it's actually a few miles south of Drew, about 4 miles. And if you go to Drew, there's only really going to the south, there's only one paved road. Take that paved road for about 4 miles, and you'll find a very nice house there next to a lake. And I was told by an official there at Drew that house was owned by a dentist. But the key place here is the barn, and this is the barn next to the house, and particularly right where my pointer is here. And right inside of there was where Emmett Till was tortured and beaten, and we don't know, maybe he was shot there. He was shot at some point, and he was killed, and it was probably in this location here. And I don't advise that you go down to that door itself. All right, now, after this, the Emmett, whether he was living or whether he was not living, was taken to Glendora. Glendora is about 10 miles away, 8 miles away, and this was a place in which J.W. Milam lived, and right 200 yards from where J.W. Milam's house was, there was a Glendora cotton gin. This is what it looks like here. It's actually a civil rights museum today, and inside that cotton gin, Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam picked up a 75-pound fan blade, and they tied it around the neck of Emmett Till with barbed wire. And again, we don't actually know what happened from here, but not very far from the Glendora gym. It's on a road, a gravel road today, and it's partially closed, but here's a sign here showing you Glendora Gym. Here you can read about the inscription there if you wish to do so. And they carried Emmett to this bridge, crossed this bridge. Now, this bridge crosses a little Tallahatchie River, and it's closed in 1955, but when they crossed it in 1955, it was still open at that time. And we don't know for sure, but it is thought by many that Emmett's body was thrown off of this bridge down into the little Tallahatchie River down below. There's a photograph from the bridge itself here showing you the little Tallahatchie. The Tallahatchie, when I took this photograph in July, is very, very low. If you look to the extremes of the banks here on both sides here, during the when it's raining quite a bit, it does flood there, and so it was certainly capable of supporting a body, and even body that had been submerged there, and would allow it to flow, and of course flow in this direction here. I'm talking about toward this direction right there. That is downstream. All right. Now, we don't know if that actually happened or not there, but many historians think that it did so. And 3 days later, downstream from the Little Tallahatchie, and Little Tallahatchie actually runs into the Tallahatchie River, but about 2.5 miles downstream, there's a place there which is called Gravel Landing. And this is where Emmett's body was found by a couple of fishermen that were fishing in the Tallahatchie River. And they saw the body, and there was actually the knees that were floating. And they found the body in roughly this location that you're looking at right here. And, of course, the body was retrieved by officials. And it was taken to, Emmett's body was taken to about 10 miles away up to Tutwiler. There was a funeral home. This is a photograph showing you the remains of the funeral home. The funeral home is not present there today. If you go there today, it's just a vacant lot, and it just has a historical marker that is present there. But there, the body of Emmett Till was prepared for burial. It was at first it was considered that perhaps he would be buried at the cemetery at East Money Church of Christ and God. And that was the one that was pastored by Mose Preacher Wright. But Emmett's mother requested that Emmett's body be sent back to Chicago, or actually south of Chicago, and she requested an open casket. And of course, Emmett's body was decomposed at this time, partially decomposed. He'd been badly beaten in the face, had a bullet hole through his skull, and she very bravely, requested that he have that open funeral. Thousands of people were in attendance for that. If you go to Tutwiler today, you can see the historical sign there at Tutwiler itself here. All right, now, the following month, which would have been in September 1955, J.W. Milan and Roy Bryant were placed on trial. Trial took place here at the courthouse in Tallahatchie County in Sumner, Mississippi, and the trial would last for 5 days. And here's showing you a historical sign here showing you the Emmett Till murder trial. You can actually go into the courthouse, into the courtroom itself. Here, let me find my courtroom photograph. The courtroom looks today exactly like it did in 1955. You can still see where the old jurors' chairs were. You can go sit in those if you wish to do so. A photograph from that time in September 1955 showing you the 12 white jurors, all males. And, of course, the trial lasted for 5 days, and the jury deliberated for 67 minutes and found a verdict of not guilty against J.W. Milan and Roy Bryant. All right. Now, the following year, in January of 1956, Look magazine interviewed Roy Bryant and J.W. Milan, and they both admitted that they had taken the life of Emmett Till. But, double jeopardy, they could not be retried on that. All right, so if we continue on in our down through the years and months ahead, Roy Bryant died at the age of 63. In 1994, he's buried in Ruleville. If you go to the cemetery there, Lairton Cemetery, which is in Ruleville, and search around the cemetery a little bit, you'll find the burial site there of Roy Bryant. His brother, J.W. Milan, died in 1980. He was age 59. And as far as Carolyn Bryant died in April of 2023 at the age of 88 years of age. All right, so another photograph here showing you, this is in Glendora. It's showing you the former house site of J.W. Milan. There's nothing there today. It is just a vacant lot, but you can read about the historical description there if you wish to do so. And as I said here as we close this out, Mississippi's had a lot of history, some good, some bad. And this is one of the negative aspects to it. If you'll follow on in some of my future recordings here, I plan to do another recording on Medgar Evers. That'd be a short recording. But I did the same research when I was on this trip that I went to Money, Mississippi there. I also hope to do one which deals with Freedom Summer. And this will be another what am I trying to say, projection there. But it deals with the tragedy of the 3 freedom workers that were killed in Mississippi in 1964, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner. And that's associated with Philadelphia, Mississippi here. All right, thank you for your attention. Okay.